You guys have been requesting this video for a long time. Finally, we are checking out the brand new eSight Go. Hey there, my name is Sam. This is The Blind Life, where I help you learn how to live your best blind life. eSight has been a popular device in the assistive technology world for many years. It's been a popular device on my channel. I have 4 eSight videos totaling almost 200,000 views. The eSight Go is the latest version, and based on your emails, your comments, you guys have been excited to learn more about this device. Should I take these off now so you guys can actually see me? So today we're going to talk about the eSight Go. We're going to cover the brand new hardware, the software, and the features, and then I will give you my thoughts at the very end. Before that though, if you would like to see what comes in the box, check out the unboxing video produced by Adam Palmer over at Palmer Vision. You can find it posted on my YouTube channel, but I'll also have a link in the video description down below. Also in the description, I'm gonna have all the contact information for eSight and where you can get it. And speaking of Adam over at Palmer Vision, he is a distributor of the eSight Go. So if you're interested in picking up this device, I will have his contact information also listed in the video description down below. All right, let's talk about form factor and brand new hardware with the eSight Go. It's interesting if you look at the different versions of eSight over the years, the hardware is following this kind of natural progression. If you remember the eSight 4, it had this halo design with the batteries in the back, and it helped to balance the weight of the device. But with the eSight Go, they have opted to move the battery down to this kind of yoke that you wear around your neck. But the benefit of having the battery around your neck like this is that, number one, it's pretty stable. It's not gonna fall off. Keeps your hands free. You don't have to hold on to a battery. But most importantly, it allows you to design the glasses more like, well, sunglasses. And this is getting towards a little closer to the holy grail of wearable devices. A high-powered, capable wearable that just looks like a pair of sunglasses. Now, you do still have this cable that connects the glasses to the battery, but it's not too bad. It definitely doesn't get in the way. It's not nearly as annoying as having a cable going all the way down to a pocket or a belt clip. And at a glance, if you were to just kind of walk by me out on the street, you might just think that I'm simply wearing a pair of sunglasses. The battery is very flexible, although it's not positionable, meaning that when you bend it around and you let go, it always goes back to the same shape. You have a button on the back of the battery here. When you press that button, LED lights light up, indicating the level of battery that you have. This is also how you wake up the battery. So if I were to just set this down and leave it alone, after a certain amount of time, the battery itself is going to go to sleep. And that's a nice little feature. It's on purpose. It helps to further extend the life of your battery. But if this battery were asleep and I was to put on my headset and push the power button on the glasses, nothing would happen because the battery was asleep. First, I have to press this button on the back to wake up the battery. On the bottom of the back portion of the battery, right underneath that button, is the USB Type-C port. This is how you charge the battery. This is also where you connect the battery to the glasses. And that is done with this USB Type-C to USB Type-C cable. And moving on to the glasses. For all intents and purposes, these act just like a pair of sunglasses. The arms are very flexible, and they even flex outward to accommodate a wide variety of head sizes. The tips of the arms here that wrap around the back of the ear are very flexible. Once again, just allowing for a nice, comfortable fit. And then finally, towards the end of the arms, or I guess these are also called temples, towards the end of the temples, there are 2 holes that are used for connecting the lanyard. The lanyard has a tension clamp here so you can tighten it up. And the lanyard serves 2 important functions. Number 1 is it allows you to hang the glasses around your neck. So when you're not actively wearing the glasses, they're hanging around your neck ready to go. But the lanyard also can be tightened up here using this clamp, and it adds a bit of stability to the glasses. Moving up the temples, you have buttons along the top edge of each arm. On the left side, you have the USB Type-C port, It's also marked by this high contrast white circle with a black arrow pointing to the port. Then just in front of that port, you have the power button. Long pressing this button will turn the device on and off. Short pressing the button will put the device to sleep and wake it up. Then on the right side, you have 4 buttons, and these control the device. Moving from the rear to the front, you have a settings button, an up and a down button, and then the mode button. All of these buttons also have long press actions. All right, moving to the front, you have what just looks like a pair of sunglass lenses here. These are not actual see-through lenses. All the electronics of the device are behind these lenses here. It's more or less just aesthetics. Right in the middle, right above the nose bridge, is the camera. On the inside of the glasses here, you have the 2 screens. This is where the image is displayed. And then you have the nose bridge. And this nose bridge is removable. In fact, you get a wide variety of extra nose bridges. Changing out the bridge will determine how high the glasses sit on your nose, which will determine how well you see the screens. You have 4 different sizes. I tried them all, and it turns out that the number 1 size, the one that comes by default on the device, worked the best for me. These nose bridges are very flexible and can be bent to facilitate a much more comfortable fit. The final piece of hardware that we're going to be talking about is the eSight Go remote. This is a proprietary remote created just for the eSight Go. It's very well made. I'm very impressed with this remote. Very large, high contrast, tactile buttons. And this offers just another way to control the eSight Go. If you don't want to reach up and push the buttons on the arm of the glasses, you can use the remote. One interesting design element about this remote is that all the buttons on the remote are laid out in roughly the same orientation that you would find them on the glasses. You have 4 buttons along the left side of the remote, and these represent the 4 buttons on the right arm of the glasses. And like I said, they're also laid out in the exact same order. You have the mode button at the top, you have an up and a down, and the settings button at the bottom. The 2 buttons on the right side of the face of the remote are just volume buttons. And then finally, you have an adjustable wrist strap on the remote. All right, we've gone over the hardware of the new eSight Go. It's pretty straightforward. Now let's dive into the software and check out the new features. So the companion app is just that. It is a companion. It just adds a little extra functionality and makes connecting to Wi-Fi much easier. We essentially have 2 main functions in the app: connecting to Wi-Fi and sharing your view. Sharing your screen is an easy way for others to see what you're seeing through the eSight glasses. This is going to be great for people to just help share the experience of the eSight Go, but it's also going to be fantastic for training. But connecting to Wi-Fi is super easy. You put your password, your Wi-Fi password, into the application, and then it automatically sends that information into the glasses so that the glasses can connect automatically. Through the app, you can also view tutorials for the eSight Go and leave feedback for the developers. The only other thing I will say about the application is that the UI, the user interface, is great. Very large, high contrast elements. You've got the yellow on black high contrast theme going. So this is great for low vision users, and it works really well with mobile screen readers. Okay, so now you guys should be seeing what I'm seeing through the app. The eSight Go currently has a bit of a limited number of features, although I know that they are planning on adding more in the future. I can tap the mode button here to cycle through the different modes. Also, of course, I could hit the first button on the right side of the glasses.
Tilt.
Tilt.
Zoom.
Zoom.
Contrast.
Contrast.
Color filter.
Color filter.
Volume.
And then volume. So we'll go through these each individually. The first one is tilt. Now this is a very unique feature. I haven't seen this on anything else before, and it's pretty cool. Essentially what it's going to do is tilt the angle of the camera down, so you won't have to look down, physically tilt your head down as far when seeing something down low like reading.
Tilt -1. Tilt -2. Tilt Tilt -4.
So there are 4 levels, and it's -1, -2, -3, -4, indicating that we're tilting down. There is no tilt up. I will mention that before. It only goes to 0. That's the starting point. But now, if I wanted to look at this document, I still have to tilt my head down a little bit, but not nearly as far. And this is pretty cool. I also noticed that this was super helpful while I was sitting at my desk and I was typing, because I could still hold my head up at a more comfortable angle, but I could still see my hands down here typing on the keyboard. Another use case for this tilt feature that I've heard is people talking about watching television in bed. Now I can click the up button to go all the way back to the normal tilt 0, or I can long press the mode button,
Reset view.
and that just resets my view quickly.
Contrast.
Next we have contrast, and this does just what it says it's going to do here.
Contrast. Contrast 3. Contrast 2. Contrast 1.
So contrast obviously just adds more or less contrast. One thing I will mention is that this does have an element of auto brightness. So whenever I look at my bright light there, it gets darker. If I look away, it gets brighter. If I put my hand in the way here, you notice the background gets kind of darker because my hand is brighter. So there is an element of auto brightness.
Color filter.
Next we have our color filters. And I've got a sheet here that we can use to demonstrate this. So currently we're on normal,
Grayscale.
grayscale.
Black white.
Here's black, white,
White black.
white, black,
Yellow blue.
yellow, blue,
Blue yellow.
blue, yellow,
Normal.
and back to normal. Those are the most common color filters that we see on lots of different devices. One thing I will say that we see in a lot of devices, and unfortunately we see it in the eSight as well.
Grayscale.
If I go into this negative here, this white on black, you see that as I move, the image get all kinds of artifacting and brightening.
White black.
And this is true through most of the color filters.
Blue.
And this is very common, unfortunately, on digital video machines like this.
Volume.
Next mode is volume, and this is pretty self-explanatory. You just turn the volume up or down.
Zoom.
And then finally we have zoom. Now arguably, this is probably the main function you're going to be using. And this is just a zoom.
Zoom 2. Zoom 3. Zoom 4.
I can tap the buttons to step up in magnification. I can also hold the button down
Zoom 24.
to zoom all the way to, I can't find any text, there it is, all the way to 24 times magnification. So 24 times magnification, that's really pretty good as far as magnification level. And now we also get a good look at the active image stabilization. Normally, if this didn't have any active image stabilization, as I'm talking here, this thing would be jumping all over the place and jittery and shaky, but it's doing a great job, doing its best to hold that image nice and steady and eliminate all those micro jitters that you get at high magnification. This is a great time to also talk about the eSight Go's new autofocus. They are using a type of phase detection autofocus, which we normally see in high-end cameras. My Sony camera that I'm recording with right now has a certain type of phase detection autofocus. Canon cameras are notorious for having this as well, and that's because it does really high performing autofocus. Now let's check out our settings. It's the back button on the arm here, the right side arm, or it's the bottom button on the remote. If I just tap that button, it will jump me right into the settings, but if I long press it, I can do a freeze frame.
Freeze.
And so now we have this document frozen. And of course I can manipulate it, all the different things. I can zoom in.
Zoom 8.
And what's cool is now that it's zoomed in, it uses the gyroscopic nature of the glasses to let me pan around the image, A lot of people are using this particular mode for reading because you don't have to hold something in your hands. Maybe your hands have a little bit of a shake in them. It takes care of that. You can just snap a picture and then read just by turning your head through the document. And of course,
Contrast. Color filter.
we can change our color filters. This all works.
Black light. Unfreeze.
And then long pressing that button again gets us out of that, unfreezes the image. Okay, let's check out the settings. I'm going to tap the settings button.
You are connected to New England Clam router. Battery is at 52%. To Bluetooth devices connected.
So that's great. Whenever you get into the settings, you immediately get some relevant information. It told me the Wi-Fi that I'm currently connected to. It told me how much battery I have, which incidentally, the battery life on the eSight Go is between 4 to 5 hours, 3 to 4 to 5 hours, continuous use. It just depends on how much you're using it, the level of brightness you have, how many times you're zooming in, zooming out, all of that. And then it says how many Bluetooth devices I have connected. Currently, I've got the remote and my phone connected.
Settings. Brightness.
So we can adjust the brightness.
Auto.
It is set to auto, as I mentioned before. You use the up and down arrow to navigate through the menu. You use the mode button to select something. You use the settings button to go back.
Brightness. Appearance.
Appearance is the theme of the menus here. Currently, I have it set to the white text on a black background, but all the color filters that you have access to in the headset, you can use in the menu here.
Flicker control. Select screen.
Select screen. This is actually going to be very helpful for a lot of you. This is where you can turn off one of the screens. I hear this all the time from people. They say, you know, my left eye doesn't work. So am I able to turn that off? And yes, with the eSight Go, you can do that.
Language.
You can adjust the language. Let's check that out.
English selected. Francais. Espanol.
English, French, and Spanish. Those are the only languages currently.
Francais. English selected. Language. Reset to default settings.
And then the last option is to reset everything back to default.
Settings. Connectivity.
Connectivity, this is just Bluetooth and Wi-Fi.
Support.
And then support, this is where you can learn more about the software on the device. And then you can also do a factory reset in here. So be careful about that. If you've ever seen one of my video magnification reviews, whenever I test out how well it deals with colored images, of course I have to use my favorite graphic novel, ElfQuest.
Tilt.
And let's tilt it up here.
Tilt minus.
Or tilt it down, I guess you could say.
Tilt minus 4.
Now we can look down without having to angle our heads down as far.
Zoom.
Let's do zoom.
Zoom. Zoom. Zoom. Zoom. Zoom. 15. Freeze. Zoom. 11. Zoom. Zoom. 13.
So we did a freeze frame so we can kind of just pan around with our head movements here. You see, we do get some distortion every now and then, moving around too quickly. Okay, so I am back. I have been using the eSight Go for a couple of weeks now, trying it out in a bunch of different situations. I even took it on a recent cruise to see how it would perform in the Bahamas. Spoiler, it performed exactly the same as it does here in Kentucky. First thing I'll mention, I'm sure everybody is wondering, how well does it work for me? If you've seen my other videos on eSight, you know that traditionally eSight just does not work for me. And unfortunately, it's the same with the eSight Go. And mainly it's because not enough field of view. My scotomas, my blind spots are just so large that I just don't have the central vision required, I think, for these types of devices. And it's not just eSight. Any of these wearables with screens right in the center of the vision, small screens in the center, they just traditionally have never worked for me. That being said, as I always say in all of my videos, and I think eSight, the original eSight, was the first video I ever said this in, just because it doesn't work for me doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. So definitely try it out if you're able. you might get lucky and it turns out to be amazing for you.
I can see, well, there's not much to see, but I can see like a street lamp.
Yeah.
I can see, well, I can see just well enough to know that that is a yard sign and not a mailbox. I don't even know how far away that is, though.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I can kind of read the side of the bus going by. That's cool.
But let's get into my opinion, my thoughts on the device, the hardware, the software, all of that. First and foremost, the eSight Go is definitely getting closer to that holy grail of wearable video magnifiers, something that just looks like a simple pair of sunglasses. And that's great. And with that regard, I think they've done a great job. The overall hardware, the fit and the finish, the form factor, all of that I think is great. It seems very well built. It seems very strong, very sturdy. It doesn't feel cheap at all. So as far as the hardware, I think the hardware of the glasses, I think it's great. Talking about the battery, once again, I mentioned this before that if you want to get the sunglasses style, you've got to do something with that battery. I mean, you could have a battery in here, but it's going to be a tiny battery. It's not going to last very long at all. So if you want a legit long-lasting battery, you've got to put it somewhere. And I think the hanging around the neck style like this, I think is about the best option we have. If you don't want a wire going down to like a battery pack in your pocket or clipped on your belt somewhere, then this is the best option. And I think they did a really good job with this design, being very flexible and being in a good shape to conform to your shoulders so it's comfortable. Really good battery life, 3 to 5 hours depending on how you're using it. Around 3 hours definitely, but if you lower the brightness, if you do a couple other things, you might even extend that to an additional 4 hours, possibly 5 hours. I think that's fantastic. The only downside I would say with the battery being around the neck is that it can make it difficult to completely take the device off. Especially when the battery is connected to the headset with the cable. It can get a little cumbersome trying to completely take the eSight Go off. The total weight of the eSight Go with the battery, the cable, the glasses, it's 13.4 ounces or right around 380 grams. So not too bad, and especially if you consider a lot of that weight is the battery, which is on your shoulders, so you're really not even gonna feel that. So not too bad. And I personally don't find them too heavy on the face. Now, I'm used to wearing wearables, so I wear them quite often, especially testing, so I'm used to feeling that weight on the front of the face. So it doesn't bother me. There is weight on the front of the face. There's no getting around that, and it is pretty much all right on the nose. But I personally don't think it's too bad. And I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe eSight is actually working on possibly coming out with a top head strap that will go over the top of the head to help balance out some of that weight as well. And don't forget, you can always tighten up the lanyard in the back to help relieve some of that weight also. One thing about the eSight Go that a lot of people are going to love is that the peripheral is wide open. That means that moving around while wearing the glasses is no problem. One situation where having it wide open made it very difficult was out on a bright sunny day. As I said, I took these on a cruise down to the Bahamas and tried to use them for putt-putt, and it was so bright and sunny on that day that I couldn't see the screens really at all. Now, these are high-resolution OLED screens, so great quality, great resolution, but it's just super bright day. They were just completely washed out. Once again, though, I believe rumor mill says that eSight might be working on some type of shade to completely block out the peripheral vision and block out the sun, and then offer that as some type of accessory. If they did, that would definitely solve that problem. Now, when it comes to software, we've got some positives and some negatives. A great range of magnification. However, when you do zoom in, especially to the higher magnifications, the image does degrade quite a bit. You do get a loss of detail. Some people have reported it looking kind of fuzzy, looking kind of grainy. We see that pretty often on a lot of different wearables, and it's here on the eSight Go as well. As far as the different modes that the eSight Go has, it does have some good ones, especially like the tilt, being able to tilt that camera down to see things at a lower angle. That was great. But the headset is lacking in some of the more advanced features that we might see on other devices, primarily OCR. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the video, they do have a pretty in-depth roadmap for this device in the future, different features that they will be bringing to the eSight Go, so I'm sure OCR will probably be one of them. But unfortunately, it is not included right now. The other issue that was very noticeable is the distortion and the artifacting when moving your head. You see it a lot, or I saw it a lot in the color filters. That's when you would move and the screen would kind of flash, or if you're looking at text and you move, the letters would darken and then come back to normal. It wasn't too bad in just the normal color filter, but in some of those other color filters, the inverted, the yellow and blue, it could get pretty bad when you're moving your head quickly. But that is it, guys. That is my full review of the eSight Go. Once again, if you are interested in learning more about this device, I will have contact information in the video description. I'll have a link to the website. I will also have a link to Palmer Vision's website. Adam Palmer, reach out to him if you're interested in a demo, you got any questions, or if you even need to find a dealer in your area, he can help with that. And if you're interested in purchasing the eSight Go, Adam is also offering a discount. You can get $100 off the price of the Go if you mention that you saw this video. So just tell him Sam sent you and you can get $100 off the price. A huge thank you to eSight for providing this unit. A huge thank you to Palmer Vision for doing the unboxing video, as well as offering that discount code for my viewers. Once again, all those links in the video description down below. But that's it for this one, guys. If you liked this video, found it helpful, be sure to hit the like button. Liking the videos and subscribing to the channel helps out tremendously. And you want to subscribe because I post content like this every single Saturday. Check me out on all the other social medias, including the Blind Life podcast, available on all your major podcast platforms. That's it for this one, guys. Sam with the Blind Life. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you next week.